is going to end up. So what you normally do is, has anybody got a pencil over there, guys? I can just borrow a sec. Pen? Come on, Matt, you normally first the punchline. I'll do. Go for it, it's a brighty lead. You know you've got that problem already. That's broken. How have you got problems with broken lead? Right, okay, so draw an imaginary line. So you've already got your teeth extracted here. So what you're going to do is you're going to come down from this cusp, because that's where that's probably the midpoint of where the tooth's going to move. So if you had a tooth on the model, you'd sort of be able to determine the fact that you need your other line to come down from the cusp, the middle of the cusp on the other tooth. So we'll just say, for argument's sake, it was there. And where the two lines meet is normally, it doesn't always work, but it's normally where your coil needs to be. Now if you place it too close to the back of the anteriors politely, the more up you're going to bring your coil, the more sort of, if your coil was there, it's going to bring it politely. If your coil, the more sort of out and down your coil is, it's going to bring it buccally. Now you don't want that. So that's why I said you need to determine roughly where your coil's going to be. Because if your coil's there, right, and you move your model, that cusp is going to end up roughly there, which is where you want it. Okay? So really you need to sort of, you'll get there, you'll judge it eventually. So I'm going to do it on this side, because my active arm's coming from here, and that's going to be my active arm. Okay?
So is your active arm
the one that
arm
comes
on the
from
top?
the top? Yeah, your active arm is the arm that comes from the top. The reason being, I'll do it that way actually so you can see. The reason being is because when you bend your guard back on itself, it needs to go. When you bend your guard, which is going to be the arm that comes from underneath, when you bend it back on itself, it needs to go underneath your active arm. Now the guard is there totally to protect the tissue, so obviously that is going to be the part that touches the tissue, well not touches the tissue, but is closest to the tissue, so that when that active arm is in operation, that guard's protecting the tissue. Okay? So we'll do it on this side, like I taught you. So, what I'm going to do first of all is we've determined that my loop is there, so this is going to be my active arm. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bend my guard first and worry about the other bit afterwards, because you need to bend your arm over your guard. Okay? So what we're going to do is we've determined the coil is there. We're going to bend for about here. Okay? Yeah? Yep. And we're just going to bend it underneath itself. Okay? Now, you'll know where you need to bend it to, and so that needs to come down more. Because obviously you're trying to conform this to the palate as well. So, I'm just going to put a bit of a bend in there as well, to bring it round. And the trick with ortho is, I always think, is don't bend with your pliers, because you'll get really sharp bends in your wire. Hold it with your pliers and bend with your fingers. Okay, you'll end up with horrible fingers, but you'll end up with nice bends. So, right, then what I'm going to do is, I'm just going to nick the end of the guard, which is why I'm using the other pliers now, because I want a nice straight edge. I'm just going to nick the end of the guard in like that, just so that when it's in the acrylic, we've got some retention, because when this is in the acrylic, the only part that's going to be available to move is this. The rest will be actually in acrylic. Okay, and that's the only part that's going to be held in. Has anybody got any wire cutters? No? Guys, have you got some wire cutters I can borrow a sec? Sorry, I will give you all your stuff back in a minute. Oh, okay. I won't be long, I promise. What time do you need to leave? Like now?
About 5 minutes.
So once you've got to that point, you can start to jiggle your guard around. So obviously we know now that that's touching, and you don't want that, that's bad. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pinch the corner and hold it with my pliers and bend with my fingers, okay, just to get it off the actual tissue, because you don't want it touching. Okay? Then once you've got to that stage, now everybody's going to look a little bit different because everybody's been taught differently. So once you've got to that stage, what I'm going to start to do is to conform the active arm over the embrasure. You know what the embrasure is, obviously, yeah?
Nope.
No? The embrasure is the section between the teeth. So I'm going to start to... the embrasure is normally about here, between your teeth. Okay, so, now you didn't see that then, but what I've just done is I've just put a slight kink in that wire there, so that it's starting to get close to where I need it to be rather than sticking up in an odd angle. So you notice I'm not using my pliers now because you really don't need them. So once you've got to that point, I'm just going to I'm going to knit. If you rub it against your model, right, it will show you where to bend. Can you see that white bit there? It will show you where you need to bend. Your model's your friend, not your enemy. It will show you where you need to bend, okay? So, what I'm going to do now is, I'm going to bend on my little white mark, what my model gave me, and I'm going to start to conform it to where I want it to be. Now that might be a little bit short, so I'm just going to tweak it up so that my loop stays where I want it to. That's okay. Right, so from here, what I'm going to do then is I'm going to go back to my flat and rounds, and I'm going to pinch it where I bent it there on the edge, yeah? And I'm just going to bring it round in the shape of the tooth. Now you might need to bend it more, but that's okay, you can play around with it. Use your finger, don't be scared to give it a good old tweaking. And then to finish it off, I have got to tweak it a little bit, but to finish it off, I am literally just going to take the sharp edge off by coiling it round on itself and pinching it. Because then, it's not going to traumatise the tissue, because it's obviously going to be right next to the lips, and you don't want it to traumatise the patient in any way. I'll try it in any way. So, give it a squeeze. So hard when you're sweating. Okay, so I'll do. When you finish this off, get a stone on it and just take the sharpness off it, okay? So, back into place we go. Now we know that needs to be tweaked in more, so once you've done that, you can literally bend it into place. And that's pretty much it. It's not 100% accurate, but it'll do. That's a finger spring boxed and guarded. When we say boxed and guarded, that's the guarded part. The boxed part is when you wax it out. Do you want me to show you that briefly? Or are you okay? Yeah? Dawson? Yeah. Is your Bunsen on? Yeah. Can I just show these guys how to wax this finger spring up on your Bunsen with your stuff, please? Okay. I don't know whose cribs they are, but it'll just hold it still while you're doing it. Okay, so just run a bit of wax in, if you can get any on your knife, to hold it in place while you're doing the rest. The important part comes from here. Now, because you're moving that tooth, that needs to come down slightly. Yeah. Okay, so what we're going to do to start with, we're going to wax out the coil. Now you don't want your wax too hot because it's going to run everywhere. So you literally just put it in the coil. That's how you're going to start it off. Okay. Then what you're going to do is you're going to fill out the triangle, and this is the boxed part. Okay. I'm not seeing it. Then you're going to run your wax up that edge to allow it to move, because the most important part about this is to allow movement. No, if you're shut up, please. The most important part of a finger spring is the movement. If your active arm doesn't move, then there's no point, because obviously it's to retract the teeth into another place. So then what I'm going to do is, because where I want this arm to move, it's going to go in that direction. Okay? So what I'm going to do now is wax out this side of the triangle to allow for the arm to move. If there's no path for it to move into, it won't. So I'm just creating that imaginary triangle really. It's you that does that to me, Matt. Now imagine wherever you want the end of your cusp to finish, you need to make sure that your arm has access to that area, okay? Because otherwise there's no point to it. So you're waxing out in a triangle. So if you imagine, yeah, that should be enough. And then all you're going to do is just go around your coil there, because if your coil can't move, your arm won't move. Okay? Yeah? Just take it off a bit from here because you don't need all that. And then from there. And there you go. That's probably touching a bit more than it needs to, so if it is, just tweak it off when you get your pliers, okay? But that's boxed and guarded fin spring. Okay? The guarded is the arm underneath that protects the tissue when the arm's in movement, and the box is the section of wax that we've boxed out to allow movement to occur. Okay? Pull it out.